I was extremely close with my grandfather. And after I lost him, I quit my job. I didn't work for 2 years. Between my job and my grandfather, a lot of loss, and started going down the wrong path. Had the police every other weekend for domestic issues that I caused. And then when I got arrested in October, it was time to open my eyes. The day that I realized that I needed a change was the morning after I had the police at my house, and I was completely terrible to every officer. Do not recall any of it. The next morning, Ron Haynes showed up at my house. He talked to me about seeking out help. And it has led me in this direction that I never want to turn back on. If it weren't for that morning, I don't know where I would be right now.
I'm incredibly proud to be partnering with the Kane County State's Attorney's Office as well as many other agencies in Kane County on the new Pre-Arrest Diversion program. Ever since the Ronald Reagan administration in the 1980s and their war on drugs, the ideology for criminal justice in the United States has simply been to lock people up, provide them little support while in custody, and release them with, again, very little support upon reentry. With this new pre-arrest diversion program, we are actually giving officers a new tool that can wrap services around individuals who committed a non-serious crime and allow them to continue to work, continue to be with their family. What this is doing is actually building trust between citizens and police. This is also giving law enforcement officers a brand new tool that they can use to help minimize crime, to reduce violence, to reduce recidivism. The pre-arrest diversion program here in Kane County has proven incredibly successful in its infancy, and we look forward to it just expanding far beyond where we are now.
I'm a person in long-term recovery, and what that means is that I've been removed from substances for, coming up next month, 10 years. Substances to me were alcohol and heroin every day. I'm a person that's been arrested numerous times, been to prison, and something like what's happening now with the pre-arrest diversion was not available at that time. I am now an interventionist, recovery coach, and really understanding what substance use disorder is, that it is a brain disease, and that it cannot always be treated from a criminal system perspective. Something like the pre-arrest diversion is a phenomenal program to have in place to assist those who want to make that attempt to be better.
So we are about 15 to 20 years into an overdose crisis. Many different factors are contributing to it, but first and foremost is, I'll call it sort of a society and patients in pain. And that pain can be emotional or physical, and the easiest response to pain, whether it be physical or emotional, is drugs. And unfortunately, with continued use of drugs in treating sort of emotional or physical pain, patients can get addicted. What happens is that the so-called reward circuitry of the brain seemingly gets hijacked, really. Endorphins that occur naturally in your brain tend to get shut off because of the high doses of exogenous opioids that cause the release of dopamine. So then when you don't have opioids that are taken illicitly, your brain doesn't make endogenous endorphins that make us feel good. So that is sort of the neurobiology of what's going on. The sociology is such that patients are hurting. There are financial difficulties, educational difficulties that all kind of contribute. And then in the last 5 years, to make things even worse, is that the market is flooded with synthetic opioids. And those have really contributed to the overdose crisis and an increase in deaths.
I had just made it a couple minutes down the road from getting off of work, heading home for the night, and unfortunately I was pulled over. They found the weed on me. I think a program like this is real important because it's just an opportunity, a second chance for a lot of people who need second chances or weren't given those. And it's just a great alternative to just the court system, and every case is in black and white. And I feel like this pre-arrest diversion gave me great mentorship from Chris. He's been there with me, checking on me, talking to me pretty much every day, if not every day, every other day. And it's just provided a lot of information and stuff I didn't know existed out there for people. So yeah, I just think it's great. I'm a young dad, 24 years old. It's very important for me to be there for my kids, just based off the fact that my dad wasn't there for me. This program gives me the opportunity to for sure be there for my kids, and that's something that's priceless.
I've been doing law enforcement for about 20 years now, and the pre-arrest diversion is definitely a different approach to law enforcement from 20 years ago, but a very much needed approach. Us in law enforcement, we are now far more informed and better educated in issues like mental health issues, substance abuse, and homelessness. Pre-arrest diversion gives us the opportunity to address those issues with individuals that would normally face nonviolent crimes in efforts to keep them from rotating in and out of the criminal justice system.
After being a police officer for over 35 years, I realized not everybody that makes a mistake, commits a crime, needs to be put in the criminal justice system. So immediately I thought of a person who we've been dealing with, who was not only had substance abuse problems, had mental health issues, and was committing petty crimes, just causing disorder in the community. State Attorney Martha immediately got her staff connected with my community engagement officer, Officer Burrows, and we started to give services to this individual. The case managers I've met have been just phenomenal, passionate people about getting the proper services to these people. I see the value in the program, and I think it's the proper way to do law enforcement and policing today.
I was found for having too many marijuana plants on my property. So now I'm in the pre-arrest diversion program. Before the pre-arrest, it was pretty chaotic. I wasn't able to find work because I had too many criminal offenses in the past. So I wasn't able to find work, and pre-arrest diversion, they helped me find work. Being in the program, we have goals every week that I need to accomplish. For example, this week is to find a doctor. They were very positive and very helpful in me achieving my goals. My second goal was to get a car so I could get to and from work. And then my third goal was to get a job, at which I got a job at Menards, and I'm now in the garden center. Plant specialist. I'm full-time. I work 40 hours a week tending to plants and keeping the plants alive. It's a good job. That's just my green thumb, like back here, all the plants I did. I love plants. Anything native around the area, native to Illinois. I think the pre-arrest diversion program is very beneficial. I think it would be very helpful to other people who would qualify for the program.
I've been an officer for coming about 3 years now. When Chief Hoy came to me and told me that he wanted to participate in this pre-arrest diversion program, I was skeptical. I didn't understand it. You have to make sure you have a participant that's willing to do the work. If the participant doesn't do the work, the program's not going to work. He or she's going to go right into the system. If you have a participant that puts in the work and puts in the time and the effort, they could be a productive member of society. Not everybody needs to go into the system and get lost. Sometimes they just need a little extra help, and that's what pre-arrest diversion is for.
We were the first pilot site here in Elgin, and we began referring people to the pre-arrest diversion program. It has given our officers and myself and my unit the opportunity to help people in a very non-traditional way and to get people help in ways that the police normally are not really allowed to do. And so it's been a great innovative tool that we've been able to use here at the Elgin Police Department and partnering with local agencies. And it's been great. We've seen some good success stories, and it's really changed a lot of the ways that people view us as the police.
I got caught with some narcotics because I was self-medicating. I never had no priors, and they told me that I could have been charged with 2 Class 4 felonies and a Class A misdemeanor. So I thought I was going to be spending time in jail, and I'm like, I'm a single mom. My kids don't have no one else. So I stressed out about that a lot. So I'm like, I really don't have no one. So I was always just racing through my head, like, where would my kids go? Who would take care of my kids? When they brought up the diversion program, I'm like, I should really do that because I'm like, I can't afford to go to jail. My kids can't afford that. And then that's how Tatum came into the picture. She helped me sign up for different programs. So she helped me be able to still be there for my kids. She's actually just been a really good person to talk to, and she's been there a lot. Was always like a shoulder to cry on. So she helped me in ways more than just the diversion program, but just being there because I don't really got no one now. And I appreciate Tatum and the diversion program for giving me that chance to kind of start over because I don't want to be a felon.
As a prosecutor for 12 years, I saw a lot of people come before me on their worst possible day. Then we continued to see people come back through our system, so what we were doing wasn't working. So what we had to do is we had to think of a better way to try to get to the root issue of the criminal justice problem to get people out of the system. Now, when I left and I became a family law attorney and I did some criminal defense attorney cases, I got to know my clients and I got to see why they were coming before us. And I learned a lot about people with mental health issues, with substance use disorder, or people who had just a basic lack of resources, or frankly, sometimes people who just made mistakes. And I saw how when they were arrested and they spent a night in jail, I saw how it affected them then and how it was going to affect them in the future when they were applying to go to school, when they were trying to get a job, when they were just trying to better themselves. And that made me think about how we could do better as law enforcement and prosecutors to actually keep people out of these courtrooms. And that's when I started to do research on the issue, and I found a program called LEAD, Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, out of Seattle, Washington. And I saw how they were able to help people with law enforcement to actually make a difference in somebody's life. So when a person is committing a crime, instead of sending them to jail, instead of putting the handcuffs on them, instead we're going to refer them to our case managers. And this is important. Not everybody is ready immediately to go to treatment. Not everyone will successfully complete treatment because we're telling them they have to do it as a condition of sentence. Instead, what we're doing is finding out what they need. Do they need a job? Do they need a roof over their head? Do they need food on their table? And when they're ready, they talk to us about treatment. How can I get help for the mental health issues that I'm having? How can I stop taking drugs because of the addiction issues or frankly because they're self-medicating? This is the right way to go, and our case managers, while this program is new, have already changed the lives of so many people because we treated them as humans and not as a case. We treated them in a way that they needed it, and not in the way that we've been taught to do, which is to lock them up, put them in a jail, bring them to a courthouse, and force something upon them. I'm very proud that Kane County, through the state's attorney's office and through the sheriff's department and our other partners like the Elgin Police Department, are ready and willing to take this leap with us, to make sure that we are treating people in the way that we should. And instead of bringing them here, we're getting them the help that they need.